Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 6 Things That We Learned from Stockport County 1, Bradford City 1. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 80 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Drop a comment as well down in the comment section down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on yesterday's draw. Now, I am delighted to welcome Frank back to the channel. Now, we've had a number of technical difficulties today, so he's currently recording on his phone. So if the quality, it actually looks a bit better, but the audio might absolutely stink today. So we can only apologise for that. But a frustrating point, would I have taken a point before the game? Yes, but with the chances that we had in the game, a point was just so frustrating to come away from. I think the best place to start is Andy Cook, and it's going to have to be a red box for me. Now, a lot of people were saying it was harsh that I gave him a red on Saturday, and don't get me wrong, his all-round play was pretty decent. Obviously gets the assist for our goal, but the chances, obviously the penalty, some people label them as a lottery. I think there's certainly a technique to penalties, and I felt like that was the chance for him to change it up, and especially when he was pretty low on confidence after Saturday, he needed just to put his foot for it, blast it, and give the keeper as little chance as possible rather than going for that accuracy. But I'm never really going to blame him for missing a penalty when he's hit the target. He's a good penalty taker, and their goalkeeper's a good penalty saver. So unfortunately, we did come out on the wrong occasion of that. But it's the one-on-one at the end. He just looked like he didn't know what to do. He looked a little bit like Bambi on ice. That heavy touch that he takes. You've got to credit the goalkeeper. He closes him down very well, but he should be doing a lot better with that. And like I say, his overall play was pretty decent, but there's 2 massive chances there that he's not taken. And in the end, they have cost us an extra 2 points. And I do feel for him a little bit at this moment in time, because he's clearly in a bit of a rough patch in front of goal. Like I say, I think he's already got 2 or 3 assists this season. So his overall play is not too bad, but his finishing has just been absolutely woeful. And I really hope that he can get out of this rough patch at this moment in time. Now, I've seen a number of people on social media saying he needs to be dropped from the squad or dropped onto the bench. And I don't personally agree with that, because I think the only way he gets his confidence back is by getting that goal. And I think once he gets that 1 goal, the floodgates will open again and we'll see his form return. But I think as of right now, he's trying way too hard, and unfortunately, it's just not really coming off for him at the moment.
Yeah, like you said, I think the ones saying that he needs to be dropped, I kind of get where they're coming from, but the problem is there is not anyone really good enough to bring off the bench. Matt Derbyshire, I mean, is he a waste of a roster spot? I think so. There's a lot of strikers on the books at the moment, so I'm not really sure if we'll actually bring anyone in. I think the only kind of attacker is going to bring in our wingers, who could probably do a job there. But yeah, like I said, Andy Cook, he got dropped towards like the back end of last year, and after going through a bit of a rough patch, and actually did him really good. But I'm not comfortable with Derbyshire starting. For example, Walker's going to be out for a number of weeks, so there's not really any chance that he'll be starting up front with Andy Cook. I think he did that at the game last week against Colchester with Andy Cook. But yeah, like I say, them chances, I think with the penalty, you can't really excuse it. It's a lottery, like you said. It happens to the best of them. When you bring it on to the one-on-one, the defender is slipping and sliding. He falls over. He's got so much time. He can take a touch. He can even take a shot. But he takes so many big strides. And I think throughout the whole game as well, he just looked clunky, looked injured. It's not the Andy Cook we saw last season. I'm not too worried about the drought. We're forgetting that he scored a hat-trick against Middlesbrough. He's clearly able. He's just gone through a bit of a rough patch. And I think, obviously, a striker to maybe bring off the bench, a bit of competition would be good. But I wouldn't say we drop him at the moment. And let's not forget, the man got the assist last night for the goal. Granted, it wasn't a great touch, but it was a lovely pass to Alex Patterson. I feel like he's done that a lot this season. Instead of scoring, he's kind of turned the provider. He's contributed to a lot of Bradford City's goals this season. So I wouldn't say we worry about it. Maybe he scores a brace at Morecambe or all on the side again, but I can understand where the frustrations are coming from, considering that the chances did cost us the points in the end. But yeah, I don't think it's anything to worry about at the moment.
Yeah, I think it doesn't help that Oliver's obviously going to be out for another 6 weeks, so he doesn't really feel the pressure. He knows his place is pretty much guaranteed in the squad because no one else can really replace him. Oliver's our only other real target man type, so you're not going to start Derbyshire, who can only really play an hour at the absolute maximum, really. So it is hard for him from that point of view, and I think after the game there was a lot of reactionary tweets, and I think there normally is. Maybe if it wasn't against Stockport, I might feel a little bit different, but I felt like on the balance of play, Stockport certainly had more of the ball, and while we had the better of the chances, I feel like they had more chances overall. We just had a higher quality of chances. And yeah, it just really frustrating. Like I say, I'd have taken a point away at Stockport before the game, so I'm not too worried about that. I feel like if we'd have beaten Crawley, the reaction would have been a little bit less, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, it is from a chances point of view, 2 points drop. Moving on then from Andy Cooks, like I say, maybe a red box might be a bit harsh because his overall play was pretty good, but his finishing in front of goal was just absolutely terrible again yesterday. Moving on then to Alex Patterson. He has got to get a green box. He was absolutely brilliant once again. His energy in that midfield, scored his 3rd goal in 3 matches. I think I read a stat saying the first non-striker to do that for Bradford City since 2017 when Romain Vincelot did it in September of that year. The only other 2 players to have done that since were Charlie White and Andy Cook. So he's in some brilliant form at this moment in time. The way he just arrives late in that box and on the edge of the box, and his finishing is absolutely brilliant. He's a joy to watch, and I think this man has got an early shout of being our player of the year, potentially the League Two player of the year as well. You know, if he keeps up this form, because he's not like he's playing as an attacking midfielder. He's playing in a double pivot with Richie Smallwood, and we'll get onto him in a moment. I thought he was brilliant as well. But Patterson, his goal scoring record, his ability to pick up the ball and drive forward with it. How many years has it been since we've had a midfielder who picks up the ball with it and drive forward with it? He's just finally brilliant to watch a midfielder who doesn't frustrate you by, you know, twisting and turning, doing pirouettes, and then just playing it back to the centre back. He's an absolute joy to watch, and I thought again he had a really, really good game yesterday.
Yeah, he runs his socks off every time. It's just so refreshing to see a midfielder scoring goals. I think nearly every season we see at Bradford City, if there is a good striker, he'll be the one scoring the goals, and not many people chip in. I think Scott Banks was our 2nd top scorer last season. He only got 6, and I think Jake Young was generally our 2nd top scorer up until about January, February time when Scott Banks overtook him in the end. So it kind of, you know, it's refreshing to see a midfielder who contributes so much, and like I say, joy to watch. He's just so nippy, agile. He's fast. He runs at the defence. He caused lots of problems, especially in that first half. But yeah, it's just so refreshing to see Alex Patterson contributing to so much of Bradford City's success this season. I wonder where we'd be without Alex Patterson. I think he's been, you know, influential to the start of this season, the cup game against Accrington, the game against Colchester as well. Yeah, fantastic signing. I hope he continues it as well. We've seen a lot of players that do well and it kind of fizzles out, but from the way I'm seeing it, especially we saw at Harrogate as well, how good he was, and he's come here and he's outdone himself really. He has become a fan favourite, and yeah, great to watch.
Yeah, I think he's a very complete midfielder as well. I don't really know what a weakness is to his game because he's quite small, but he wins so much in the air. And I think that's what you need in midfield is battlers. And I think he works really well with Small. I don't think it really worked at Crawley. I think they were more playing the wrong way around. Patterson were a bit deeper and Small were a bit more advanced. And I don't think that really worked. But now we've got Small as a bit more of a supportive City midfielder, and Patterson being just given that freedom to bomb forward. It really works absolutely brilliantly. And I thought, again, he had an absolutely fantastic game last night. And obviously, great to see him score. Moving on then to the referee, Sebastian Stockbridge. He's getting a red box. Absolutely shocking. I mean, where do we even start with this man's performance yesterday? In the first half, I thought he was poor, you know, had a couple dodgy decisions, but I thought overall he wasn't too bad. But in that second half, he just completely lost control of the game. I'll give him credit for not, you know, just handing out yellow cards left, right and centre. There were a few really soft yellows, in my opinion. This is for both teams. I thought it was absolutely shocking. There were some times where he were giving free kicks the complete wrong way, throw-ins the wrong way. And then I remember on a couple of occasions where I think a ball got played over the top. Kelly went to head the ball. It bounced down off the floor, hit him in the face. And then Madden was in through on goal. And the lino raised his flag, but Kelly had made a genuine attempt to play the ball. So he was offside there. Because Kelly had made an attempt to play the ball, that then made Paddy Madden no longer offside, and then he got given as offside. So it wasn't just Bradford City where, you know, I like to stay as unbiased as possible. I thought it was just absolutely shocking, and it's so frustrating because you see it all the time in every game. The referees are getting some really, really big decisions wrong, and I was watching Dave Challoner's post-match interview. Apparently, for Andy Cook's one-on-one chance, he was offside, and then their player obviously slips and touches the ball, and then the referee didn't give that as offside. So it's just about being consistent. And don't get me wrong, them two decisions have massively benefited Bradford City, so I'm not really complaining necessarily about that, but going forward, that could have easily gone the opposite way for Bradford City, and we could have easily conceded that chance. So from that point of view, I think the referees just need to get better. But I don't really want to just go on about referees for every one of these that we do, because you could genuinely do that. I don't think the referee was horrendous on Saturday, but it's every game now. There's one or two massive decisions where the referees are just getting them completely wrong. And this goes for pretty much every level. You saw in the Man United Wolves game, how on earth did Wolves not get a penalty when Onana just absolutely clattered someone out? And I think that is a big problem with football at the moment. The standard of refereeing is just absolutely terrible.
I think there comes to a point where you just run out of words. There doesn't seem to be any solution. And we've seen it in other leagues. There's interviews with referees, there's like body cams, there's like audio connected to them, so you can hear what they're saying, you can hear the reason behind the decision making. And it almost seems like the referees are just alienated. Like, we all just despise them, really. There's not really any kind of understanding between the decisions. And I think if there's like interviews and the cameras and all that kind of stuff, and there's interviews after the game where referees maybe address the accountability, I think we can get on board with that, because it just happens so consistently now. I don't think I can name a good referee in the division, and I don't think any other the 23 clubs in the division fan base can name a good referee either. So it's like there's something needs to be done, and it costs games, it costs points, and ultimately it can define seasons. So it's not good enough. They need to improve. Obviously, like you said, I don't really like talking about referees often, because we've got to look at what we could have done better in the game. But yeah, definitely needs to be something that needs to change.
And another thing that I think is a little bit of a problem with referees, say if they're refereeing in the Championship, they have a really bad game for the Championship, they then get dropped down into League One for the next couple of weeks. And I don't think that should be the case, because then why should the League One teams have to suffer from a bad referee? I feel like if you have a bad game and you're dropped, it shouldn't be you just move down the pyramid a little bit. You should not be able to referee for a few weeks if you make such big errors. And there were a couple big mistakes again from the referee last night. We saw it in the Crawley game, some absolutely shocking decisions, and now this one against Stockport, where the majority of them benefited us, but it's still, as a football fan, frustrating to watch, and it's not good for the game going forward. Before we get into box number 4, please make sure you drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Get a comment as well down in the comment section down below. And box number 4 is a green box for Richie Small. I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. He's had his doubters, especially last season. This year, I think the role that he's playing in is really suiting him a lot more. And yesterday against Stockport, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I was really surprised to see him get subbed off. I thought when McDonald came on, he had a good impact, to be fair, but Smallwood was just absolutely brilliant. His leadership on there, the way he always wanted the ball, was, distributing it very nicely, winning the ball back. And I just thought overall he had a really, really good game. His set pieces have come on massively from last season. Last year, they were very, very inconsistent, but this year, I can't really remember one set piece which he's put in, which has been bad since the competitive matches have started. All of them have been in and around the areas that they need to be in. And I just think overall he had a really, really good game yesterday. Now, he doesn't really do anything fancy, but he does the dirty work really well. And I think you need them sort of players in there. I think he's a leader. And when you go into somewhere away at Stockport, when the Cheadle end are up and they've got the atmosphere bouncing, you need your leaders to really stand up and be counted. And I thought Smallwood did that massively yesterday. He's barking out orders on the pitch. I remember at one point he absolutely bollocked Sam Stubbs for, I don't really know why, because I didn't think at the time Stubbs really made a mistake, but Small was absolutely furious with him. And you see that all the time, but when you're that close to the pitch and it happens right in front of you, then you certainly realise it a lot more. And I think for me personally, just overall, he had one of his best games in a Bradford City shirt so far. I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and it has to be a green box for me.
Yeah, I think it was publicised on Twitter. I wasn't Smallwood's biggest fan in all honesty, but I've sort of come around to him now. Do I think he should be captain? I'm not entirely sure, but like you said, he's getting much better with the command, and he was a bit quiet last season, I thought. And obviously, he had a lot of expectation last summer coming from Hull City as club captain. Pretty much played nearly every game in the Championship last year. There was a lot of expectation on his shoulders. I don't think he quite lived up to it, so I can understand why the fans weren't on board with him. But this season, been much better. Did really well. Obviously created that first goal as well, racing out to intercept that pass, played it to Cook, who squared it to Patterson, and he got the goal. So I think Smallwood's been fantastic to watch this season, definitely suiting that position, like you said. I think with Patterson as well in double pivot, although I don't really agree with it, I think it allows Smallwood to be conservative and just let Patterson run forward. So it's kind of working out. I don't think it's the move forward. I think the 5-back, we've certainly got to bring in players that are, especially wingers, just try and adapt to other formations, see what works. We can go back to a 5-back, but I just don't think the formations are as versatile enough. Obviously, I'd keep Smallwood in the same position as that conservative midfielder, but I think it's the positions around him that need to be changed. Obviously, with Gilead being injured now as well, we've only got one left wing back, and that's Liam Rydard. I'm not entirely sure that's the way we can move forward. But yeah, back onto Smallwood, I thought it was fantastic. To be brought off for McDonald, not entirely sure. I think a few substitutions were a bit telling as to how Mark Hughes wanted to play the last second half. I'm not sure if we're talking about Mark Hughes after Smallwood or when...
He's not planned to. He's not in the plan at the moment.
I'll get that.
So if you want to, feel free.
Yeah, I'll get that out of the way now. Then obviously, I'm not Mark Hughes out. I've seen a lot of people who are debating whether he's the right man to take us forward. I think you've got to give him to at least the end of the transfer window. Give him a few months, maybe till January, just to see how he does. Obviously, if we sack him, I'm not sure who would get in. It's a difficult job, to be honest. Bradford City, getting them out of League Two. Lots of managers have tried and failed. It's a bit of a precarious one. You sack Mark Hughes, and I'm not sure where we turn, but yeah, back onto the substitutions. Small for McDonald, while McDonald wasn't too bad, it just didn't make sense. And then just the defensive substitutions, I think. Who did Clark-Ador get brought off for? Was it?
I think it was McDonald, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, well, it might have been McDonald. So like that. So Ador, who was playing as a attacking midfielder, number 10, gets brought off for a defensive midfielder. So that means I think maybe Pattison and McDonald switch around. So that means there's two holding midfielders. And then obviously Gilead got brought off to injury, which is fair enough. And then just Derbyshire for Tyler Smith when we needed that bit of pace. We were playing two target men with no wide players. It just doesn't make sense. After such a decent last season, although we didn't ultimately achieve the goal we wanted, which was promotion, we got very, very far and only a few tweaks needed to be made. But we've completely changed the philosophy this season. It's a completely different formation. There's no wingers when we've got wide men, we've got target men like Andy Cook. I'm just kind of baffled with the tactics and the decisions. We got the goal 47 minutes and we practically defended for our lives for the rest of the 45 minutes. We sit back and invite pressure. It happens every single time we take a lead. We drop back and we invite pressure, and it was inevitable, that goal. The cross came in, yet again another set piece. We conceded a set piece at Crawley, set piece at Accrington. We conceded a set piece at Stockport. When are we going to learn that we need to defend set pieces better than we do? It's not good enough at all. And to be fair, Stockport should have had a few penalties as well. There was one where Rydalge brought, I think it was Oluwafe down, and then Matty Platt probably got away with a lucky one there. He was on a yellow card as well. I'm not convinced this is the formation to play, and Hughes said he wants to have versatility in the squad and change the formations around, but there only seems to be one plan for Mark Hughes. He doesn't seem to be switching it up at all. I'm not sure what the tactics are up to. I don't think it's working. We need new signings to try and test out other formations. But yeah, we were supposed to be talking about Smallwood. I've moved on to Mark Hughes, but obviously he's not a talking point, so I wanted to get that out of the way.
Yeah, so back onto Smallwood. I actually completely forgot about that pass. If he doesn't press and we intercept the ball that far up the pitch, I don't think we actually go on to then score that goal. But yeah, like I say about Smallwood, I thought he was just absolutely brilliant yesterday. So he absolutely has to get a green box for me. Moving on then to box number 5. Now we are going to be speaking about Daniel Oyegoke, obviously brought in on a season-long loan from Brentford's B team, was brought in to suit this new 3 at the back system. And I thought yesterday he had a really poor game. Now, the only reason why it's not red is because he wasn't at fault for any goal that we conceded, but going forward, he just can't be in the team, in my opinion. I don't think he's good enough. I think defensively he's really poor, and I wouldn't mind if he was poor defensively if he offered a lot going forward, but he doesn't really offer much going forward. He never really wants to try and take on a man, and I don't really ever see him get out of second gear. He always seems to just be jogging around the pitch. He's never sprinting to try and get on the end of a ball. He's crossing into the boxes, average at best, and I just don't understand why we dropped our 3rd best player last season in Brad Halliday to fit Oyegoke in when Halliday didn't have a bad game against either Accrington or Crawley, and then Oyegoke was brought in. Halliday just now doesn't really seem to get an opportunity, and it seems really daft to me with how good Halliday was going forward. I think he's 10 times better than him defensively, and I think from what I've seen, he's better than him going forward, and he might not have this pace people talk about. But Oyegoke just doesn't want to seem to use his pace. He never sprints. He always does a really light jog. He's so frustrating to watch. And he got caught out yesterday by just some of the most basic football. And you think if you were a little bit more switched on, a little bit smarter, that shouldn't happen. And there are a few times where Platt were then having to get dragged out of position to cover for Oyegoke. And then that makes look Platt looks bad. And then Stubbs has to come over and cover Platt's position. It makes Stubbs look bad. And then Kelly has to come over and cover Stubbs' position. It makes Kelly look bad. And it's just a massive knock-on effect for the rest of the defenders then when Oyegoke gets caught out of position. And it happened a fair few times yesterday. And we were lucky we got away with it on a few occasions because defensively, I thought, again, we were pretty shaky. But Oyegoke was certainly the standout for me. And like I said, the only reason why it's not a red is because we didn't lead to a goal that we actually conceded. But I can't give him any more than a yellow. I did think he had a really poor game.
Yeah, it's quite like a paradox. It's just where Oyegoke, do I think he's good for wing back? No. Should he be probably a winger if we were to play him? Yeah. Does he have the pace for it? Not really. He's shown so much attacking dominance when we've seen in the highlights of him for England as well, youth set up, and then for the Brentford B team. He actually did really well in the behind closed doors friendly against us last season for Brentford B team. And I thought he looked really good when we looked at his highlights. But he just doesn't seem to have done it. Obviously, MK Dons fans didn't like the look of him as well. Granted, he was playing in a back three. We tried that. It failed, and we've moved into wing back. Didn't think he's been horrendous. And then Stockport game, while I don't think he was the worst player on the pitch, he just didn't really offer much. If you were to bring Halliday in, he's had a fantastic season, I agree. I think he's probably our third best player last season. But once again, he is just not a wing back. If he's playing as a flat full back, right edge left back, because he's the only option in a flat back four, probably would work better. But like Brad Halliday is just not a wing back, and it just brings me back onto the same point again. This is not the formation we need to play because we just don't have the players for it. Stockport, they've done the 5-back for so many years now with obviously the wing backs that they've got in the club, and they are proper wing backs. And you know, they showed it yesterday. Kyle Noyle was fantastic. Southam Hales, who skinned a lot of our players many times. Alex Gillard is the left wing back, tucked into centre mid when we had possession of the ball. We went forward and we were caught out on many occasions on quick counter attacks because we're playing such a high line with the defence, and we just leave so much space backwards. And with 3 slow defenders in Stubbs, Kelly, and Platt, it's just not going to work. We got caught out so many times in that first half, and I think with the Madden header and the chances they got, they probably should have scored 1 or 2 in that first half from the chances they got. It all adds up, really. And I think Oyegoke was not good enough. Brad Halliday probably should come in next game, but then again, I don't think he should be playing wing back for me. That's my take on it personally, anyway.
Yeah, I certainly don't think he had his greatest game in the world whatsoever. The final talking point then of today's video is Emmanuel Sidibe. Came on off the bench and just once again was one of Stockport's best players. He had an absolute nightmare again, and I really want Sidibe to work at Bradford City, but each game that goes by, it makes it harder and harder to, and a lot of people on social media were very critical of his performance yesterday because I just don't see what he offers. He's not fast, he's not strong, he's not good in the air, he's not technically good, he tackles himself more times than the opposition tackle him. I remember when he tried to do a step over and just kick the ball straight out of play. McDonald played a 5-yard pass to him, it ended up nutmegging him and going out for a throw-in. He just doesn't work, and he doesn't. This system is meant to suit him perfectly because he's got that protection defensively, but he doesn't offer much going forward. And like what I mentioned, I think it was against Crawley, when he gets the ball, he wants to take players on, but you've got to be successful sometimes. You can't try and take people on and lose the ball every single time because then it's just frustrating. If you are going to take players on, it's obviously not going to work 100% of the time. And that's why you have your better defensive players behind him to win that ball back. But I haven't seen him complete a single take on so far in a Bradford City shirt. And he never really looks like scoring. He looks a little bit unfit to me. You know, he always looks really tired and he's always come on as a substitute. And I don't see a world in which why we've kept Emmanuel Sidibe and not Ryan East. And like what I mentioned in the video when East departed, they play slightly different positions, but East would have been perfect to come on off the bench yesterday because not only is he left-footed and he gives you a bit of balance, but he's got energy, and we needed energy yesterday, and Sidibe provided the exact opposite of that. And I think if you bring in McDonald on, who's clearly more technically gifted and mentally able rather than, you know, energetic and that sort of stuff, then you can't be bringing Sidibe on as well, who just doesn't offer anything. Like what I said, he was one of Stockport's best players yesterday. He was only on the pitch for about 10 minutes. So for me personally, it absolutely has to be a red box for Emmanuel Sidibe. He had an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, we've all continued to try and defend Sidibe. It's a bit of a touchy subject. I know he's obviously broke his leg. I don't want to say anything, against Osadibe, really. It's so difficult. And like you said, I just want it to work out so much. He's a fantastic personality, but unfortunately just not as good as a footballer. Yeah, like you said, he came off the bench. He's just not impacted the game enough. He's just too lanky. He's clunky on the ball. He can't get the ball out of his feet properly. And on a midfielder, you need someone to retain possession, play the ball. He just can't do that. I just wouldn't know which his best formation is, to be honest. Best position is, to be honest. Like you said, with the Riney situation, I just wonder who makes these decisions sometimes. Like why you said, the players slightly different positions, but I feel like the change that was made, it was kind of like a like for like swap. I think East would have been perfect to bring off the bench. As was Poynton as well. Obviously, we're not talking about Poynton, but that was a perfect chance for him to come on and change the game. But Hughes played so defensive, and he's instilled a mindset in which, when we go behind, we sit back and we invite pressure. And I don't agree with that. I think Poynton would have been fantastic off the bench. Maybe even should have been brought off for Tyler Smith if we're going to go down that kind of route. I feel like that would have been a good option. But yeah, back onto Osadibe. He wanted to work for him so well, but it just isn't going that way. We've continued to defend him, but I think he's one of the people we should be looking to moving on if we want to have any chance. We can't just keep on to players for the sentimental value of it. Obviously, he broke his leg. We've continued to support him, but I feel like he just hasn't repaid us enough, and I think it's probably his time to go now. I think he probably would get another League Two club, maybe higher National League, but I just don't think he suits what we're trying to do here.
And I remember when we signed him from Walsall, I know their fans were, over the moon that they somehow managed to get a transfer fee in for him. And he plays a very similar position to Alex Patterson, and you see what Patterson offers, and you compare that to Osadibe, and it's just completely night and day. And I think in terms of ability and what we've seen so far and work rate, if Osadibe and Poynton were the same age, Poynton was the better option yesterday. And I feel like Mark Hughes really does not trust young players. We've seen so far, or the scene has not really had much chance. Jake Young has been sent out on loan. Ryan East has been sent out on loan as well. He much does prefer and trust the experienced players more. And I do kind of get that a little bit, when you're playing away from home against a team like Stockport, you need that experience and leadership. And it might not have been the best game to bring Poynton on to make his senior first team debut in a competitive match. But I think for me personally, from what Osadibe offered on the ball, he gave the ball away a loads. If Poynton gave the ball away, he'd at least have that work rate and tenacity to try and win that ball back. And we needed some energy. We needed some legs in that midfield. And Osadibe just offered the complete opposite to it. It was so frustrating to watch. And like I said, I gave him the benefit of the doubt last season because mentally it'd be so tough to come back from an injury where inside the first 10 minutes of your competitive debut, you're then going to be out for the next 6, 7, 8 months, whatever it was. I did feel really bad for him in the second half of this last season. You saw there were a few times where he was pulling out of tackles, and it was understandable. But how much longer can that go on for where he doesn't look 110% committed to it? And I don't know if that's just his game, really, but there's just a few occasions where it's like, why have you done that? Why do you think that's the right decision to do in that moment? I think Oyegoke is very similar to that. They just don't do the right things at the right times, where you've got to be really intelligent as a footballer when you're away from home against a very good team like Stockport. And he was just doing some really stupid things. It was really frustrating. And a lot of the fans in that away end were getting really frustrated by Osadibe because, like what I've mentioned a couple of times, he was one of Stockport's best players. He just kept giving the ball away constantly, and he just simply was not good enough. But there we have it then. There are our 6 talking points from today's video. Apologies about some of the technical difficulties that we've had in today. We'll try and get it sorted out for next week, but we can only apologise. Get your thoughts down in the comment section down below on Andy Cook, Alex Patterson, the referee, Sebastian Stockbridge, Richie Smallwood, Daniel Oyegoke, and Emmanuel Sadibe. Somehow I've ended up with 7 fingers up there. I clearly can't do maths. We are going to leave it there, though, for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try to 80 likes, as we said at the start of today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you had it as well. We are on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't already, with that post notification bell on, it's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Have a great rest of your day. Go check out the Stockport County vlog from last night, and we'll see you all very soon for another one. Peace.